And you may begin.
Okay, good afternoon. Again, my name is Jonna Williams, and I will be presenting on how to respond to a request for a proposal. My email address is here. Should you think of any questions after the event, please jot down my email, which is my name, jonna.williams@cityofchicago.org, and you can send me an email after the workshop should you have any questions afterwards. So my first slide here, tips for finding bid opportunities. Competitive bids valued over $100,000 and RFPs, which are requests for proposals, are publicly advertised currently in the Chicago Tribune. Bids and RFPs are posted weekly to view and download on the City of Chicago's Department of Procurement Services website, and there's two locations. When you go to our website, you'll see two tabs you can click to look at our current bid opportunities, and the links are listed here. Bid opportunities are also posted in our bid and bond room, and we usually have CD-ROMs. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, City Hall is currently closed to the public. We likely will be opening soon, but as of right now, all of our bid opportunities are online, and the bid and bond room is not open to the public. To see the City of Chicago buying plan, as Jackie already discussed, we can use this link here, and the buying plan has our current bid opportunities and projected bid opportunities for the City of Chicago and our sister agencies. Another way to find out about bid opportunities is to attend pre-bid conferences. Currently, we are doing these by phone conference or either by virtual conference, but this is a good way to potentially network with other potential bidders, and certainly if you're an MBE or a WVE or a DVE and you're looking to subcontract with the prime, this is a good way to see who the prime contractors are and to network with them. For every bid specification, be it a bid or an RFP, we have a takeout list, which is posted on DPS's website, and there you can see all of the interested parties who have taken out the specification for viewing and potentially bidding, and this is a good way to network with prime contractors. So when do we use an RFP versus a competitive bid? The request for proposal is a method of procurement to hire professional services consultants to implement a new project in various professional service disciplines. It's project specific, and it's used when the city does not have an in-house technical expert or resources to implement the project or provide services. Competitive bids are a method of procurement to purchase supplies, equipment, maintenance and or repair of services, and often for construction. For a competitive bid, there's a detailed bid specification prepared. It's structured as project specific and with specific quantities. Sometimes it's for a one-time use, which we call a blanket agreement. And there it would depend on requirements. So essentially, you're issued a contract and then the city will contract with you for requirements as we need them over the term of the agreement for goods or services. Competitive bids have proposal page line items which have defined units of measurement and specific or estimated quantities. So essentially, a competitive bid, we know exactly what we're looking for and it's detailed in the solicitation. A request for a proposal, we're not sure exactly how to implement the project, so we're looking for consultants to help us and then to perform the services once a contract is awarded in the future. So again, bid specifications detail every aspect of the project or services. An RFP defines project objectives and a scope of service parameter, but does not specify in detail every aspect of how to accomplish or perform the required services. The city seeks proposals from qualified vendors detailing their proposed plan to implement and complete the project. An RFP entails a detailed evaluation of the proposals by an evaluation committee who are city employees based upon the evaluation criterion which is published in the RFP. The EC is comprised of various stakeholder departments. For a competitive bid, contract award is to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, meeting the city specifications based on the lead department's review of a bid tabulation and recommendation of award. For an RFP, vendor selection is to the highest ranked respondent to the RFP and is not based upon price. For RFPs, price is negotiated usually at the end or prior to contract award. For purposes of this workshop, you should have been provided with a sample RFP, and we will look at that together as I go through the slides. RFP content is standardized, but may vary depending upon project. For example, if the project is city funded or state or federal funded or grant funded. And also I like to point out, although we're talking about RFPs here, or we note RFPs, the process I'm going to entail is also for RFQs, which is a very similar process. And RFQ stands for Request for Qualifications. And for that type of solicitation, we're looking to pre-qualify a vendor pool, and then vendors will be solicited later based upon a task order process. But as far as responding to an RFP, or an RFQ, it's the same process. So we have minority business enterprise, women business enterprise versus disadvantaged business enterprise certification goals. So for the MBE goals and the WBE goals, these are typically for city-funded projects. For DBE participation goals, these are for either federal, state, or grant-funded projects. If DBE goals or there's a local preference, such as the Chicago-based business preference, we won't have what we call bid incentives or the bid preferences for the DBE goals, only for city-funded projects, which are MBE and WBE goals. So, as I stated before, currently all proposals have to be submitted electronically through what we call eProcurement. To submit your proposals, please be sure that your proposals are word searchable. Sections of the proposals should be organized in subject matter, which is equivalent to the required content section of the proposal in the RFP. Each page should be numbered. Proposals should be clear, concise, and well organized. And also, it's very important to note that should you have any confidential information or information that you don't want to be shared with the public, you must submit a redacted proposal. The proposal should not be completely redacted, but areas that you don't want sent to our webpage and to be available for the public should be redacted. All proposals that are submitted to the city eventually will be posted online to our webpage and available for viewing to the public. So this slide goes over the proposal content. So for pretty much all RFPs, these are standard requirements that you will see. You will have to submit a cover letter, an executive summary. There's a section where you'll detail your professional qualifications and your specialized experience of the respondent and the team that you seek to work with, such as any subcontractors or any consultants that you may be working with for the project. You should detail their experience. We're also looking for any specialized experience, what makes you unique or sets you apart from other vendors of your key personnel. We'll look for your implementation or work plan, which is where you tell us how you propose to provide the services to the city. For an RFP, you'll be asked to submit a cost proposal, and it's important that you use the cost proposal that is included in the RFP and not alter this document or submit your costs in a different format. You have to submit your costs in the format provided in the RFP. For an RFQs, we don't ask for your costs up front, but after you're selected to be pre-qualified for a vendor pool, then your costs will be requested. If there are goals for the project, you will have to submit schedules C's and D's detailing what MBEs and WBEs you intend to use for the project. We will ask for financial statements. We ask for audited over the last 3 years or equivalent. So if you don't have audited financial statements, that's okay. Provide us with what you have. If you're a startup or a small business, we understand that as well, but you need to provide something showing us your financials over a 3-year period. For every single contract awarded by the city, contractors have to submit an online economic disclosure statement, certificate of filing, and affidavit. The online EDS, as we call it, details your ownership, and it's a requirement for every contract awarded by the city. We will be asking for legal actions, that's any pending legal actions against your firm for the last 5 years. And also your insurance. We don't expect that you go out and get insurance until after you are informed that you will be awarded a contract. So for the submission of a proposal, we ask that you either provide a statement that you will get the required insurance as detailed in the RFP, or you provide a sample insurance certificate of coverage. So what you see here on this slide, these are all requirements to submit an RFP. It's very important that you submit everything that we're asking for. Financial statements and legal actions are considered confidential by the city, so we won't be sharing this information with anyone. It's only used for evaluation purposes of your proposal. So, going into a little bit more detail of those requirements. For your professional qualifications and specialized experience, we're looking for local availability of your team. So yourself, the prime contractor, any joint venture partners or subcontractors, should you have any. We'll be looking at your current and past performance, and this is via references. For the most part, for all RFPs, we require at least 3 references. It's important that you find references that are ideally similar to the city of Chicago as far as our size and the scope that we're asking you to perform. Any certifications or licenses that may be needed. For instance, if it's a real estate brokerage RFP, we would want to see the appropriate licenses and certifications which show us that you are able to do the work. For the RFP submission, it's important that your key personnel submit resumes, which details their role on the project. We will be asking for an organization chart, and also we ask for any dedicated resources that your firm would be able to provide for our accounts. Again, your implementation or work plan will detail how you plan to provide the services for the city. We'll look at your costs. The MBE-WBE commitment, for the most part, it's 25% MBE and 5% WBE goals, although other goals may be set, or there may be no stated goals for projects. In the RFP, There will be details on how to request a waiver or a reduction of goals should you feel that you cannot meet the goals that are stated in the RFP. DBE goals may apply, again, if it's a federally funded project, a grant funded project, or state funded. Again, your financial statements are requested for at least 3 years. You will need to provide a statement that you will comply with all laws, ordinances, and statutes, and this is done through your EDF certification. Legal actions, again, are needed, and often we'll ask you for any conflicts of interest that you may know of. That has to be disclosed in the RFP. So, tips for preparing your RFP proposal. Please read the entire RFP document. Follow the proposal format and content instructions. No shortcuts. Don't assume the city knows your firm. So we put this here because often firms are already doing business with the city and they respond to an RFP. It's important to note that the individuals evaluating your RFP are likely not the individuals who you're working with on any current projects. So if you're submitting an RFP proposal, always assume that we don't know you. You can provide the city as references, and then the evaluation committee can seek out the appropriate people to find out about your performance. But it's very important that you don't take any shortcuts and you don't assume that the city knows your firm should you have already done business or are doing business with the city. All questions about the RFP have to be submitted in writing to the Department of Procurement Services. Addendum will be issued to all RFP document holders on file with the bid and bond room. Currently, this process is done online, so if you intend to submit a response to an RFP, please go online and be sure that you are on our takeout list. Only the firms registered on our takeout list will automatically be sent addendum when the city issues addendum, should we issue any addendum. Addendum will also be posted online with the original RFP document, so you can find them there. To be responsive to an RFP submittal requirements, you have to submit all of the required information and documents that I just detailed. The first step in evaluating proposals is just to see if you submitted all of the required documents. There are cases where you may have missed things and the city may reach out to you and request something you've missed, but there's also cases where you may miss something and your proposal will be eliminated for further consideration because you're not seen as being responsive because you didn't provide all the information we requested. Again, it's very important for not just your cost proposal, but for your references and your company profile information, which I'll show you examples of in a moment, that you use the forms that are provided in the RFP and not change the information or submit it in a different format. Be a responsible vendor. Verify your company has the ability and the capacity to perform and your proposal meets each specified requirement. If something is listed as mandatory in the RFP, please avoid from taking exceptions to this requirement. It will result in a proposal rejection. Anything in the RFP that is stated as mandatory is just that, it's mandatory, and it will be required to be awarded a contract. So in the RFP, there'll be several exhibits, and what's detailed below are exhibits that are unique, that are not unique, but are included in every RFP. So we'll ask for your company profile information, and that details who you are. Again, we're going to ask for 3 references. You'll be asked to submit what we call a compliance plan, and that's entailed of Schedule C1s and D1s, which are included in the RFP, and or a waiver in order to request the waiver, there are detailed instructions, which include submitting a letter to the Chief Procurement Officer and contacting all of our assist agencies. So it's important that you read through those instructions and follow all of the requirements which are needed to request a waiver. As I stated before, an online EDS, which includes the disclosure of any retained parties that you will be using for the contract, and familiar relationships with elected city officials and department heads, as well as other certifications. The EDS is required for all RFP submissions. We will also ask that you verify you can obtain the necessary insurance. However, the actual insurance is not required until contract award, so you don't have to go out and purchase insurance just to submit an RFP proposal. As part of the RFP, we will always have a sample contract, which has the city's standard contract terms and conditions. You'll need to carefully review the sample contract so you know what the city requires as far as terms and conditions when the contract is awarded. In the RFP, we also will ask for a statement of any objections to the city's terms and conditions. And this will be looked at, and if you're selected to perform as a vendor, will be hashed out during contract negotiations prior to contract award. It's important that you verify the existence of any addendum issued by the city, and you must verify that you have reviewed the addendum in the cover letter when you submit your RFP. Currently with eProcurement, you have to electronically acknowledge any addendum, so you'll have to do that there, but it's important to know that you also should make this acknowledgement in the cover letter of your RFP. So I'll just talk about eProcurement submissions. So we were transitioning from paper to electronic submissions. However, now, due to the pandemic, as I stated, the City Hall is currently closed and the Department of Procurement Services is only accepting electronic submissions. In eProcurement, it's very important that you look at the due date for your proposal. Proposals can't not be submitted via eProcurement after the published due date and time. The system will lock you out. And we understand that vendors may run into technical issues submitting your proposal. So it's very important that you don't wait until the designated date and time to try to submit a proposal, because if you run into any technical issues, the system still will lock you out and you may not be able to, or if you have any problems and cannot submit a proposal, you won't be able to. So iSupplier refers to the city's eProcurement computer system for electronic bidding, and it also provides contractors with access to contract, ordering, and payment information if you have a city contract. In order to submit your proposal, you have to be registered in iSupplier, and we ask that you allow 3 days to complete your registration. Once again, pay attention to the RFP instructions. In the future, we may continue on with eProcurement, or paper submissions may be allowed, but you'll want to pay attention to the RFP instructions for how and when to submit your proposal. And the eProcurement system, do not wait until the last minute to submit your proposal, just in case you have some technical difficulties. The cover letter that's submitted with each proposal must be signed by an authorized officer and acknowledge any addendum issued. I suggest that you make a checklist of all of the submittal requirements per the proposal required content section in the RFP. Make your checklist, and then before you submit your proposal, verify that you've included all of the required information prior to submitting your proposal to DPS. These are some eProcurement submission resources. All of our solicitations can be found online on the Department of Procurement Services webpage, and also on the Department of Procurement Services webpage under the eProcurement tab. There are a lot of training materials. There are workshops you can attend. We post all of our pre-proposal attendees online on our webpage. We have instructional documents. We have videos you can watch to help you. So there's a lot of resources to help you through your eProcurement submission. So how are the proposals evaluated? Respondents to the RFP are posted on our website. So anyone who provides a response, you will be listed on DPS's website. No other information about proposals or the evaluation is available until after contracts are awarded. It's important to note that all proposals and anything submitted to the city is subject to the Freedom of Information Act, and we could receive FOIA requests. FOIA requests are held until after contract award for the RFP process. If you submit an RFP and your firm is not selected for contract award, the Department of Procurement Services will hold a debriefing meeting with you. To request a debriefing meeting, you'll send a letter to the CPO, and then the procurement specialist working on the project, as well as a member of management, will go through your proposal and highlight some areas that were insufficient or some areas that weren't maybe quite up to par, or wherever you were lacking. So should you submit an RFP in the future, you can get some feedback on what went wrong. We will not be able to tell you who's on the evaluation committee or share any of their notes. It'll just be an overview of your proposal and any areas of deficiency that we noted. So the evaluation committee evaluates proposals in 3 phases. As I stated before, the first assessment is a simple checklist to see if you were responsive to the RFP requirements. So we're just looking to see if you submitted your cover letter, your implementation plan, the EDS, all of the areas that I discussed before. We're looking to see if that was included in your proposal. The next phase is a detailed evaluation of the proposals, and that's where the EC will take your proposal. Each EC member will independently go through your proposal and score your proposal, and then all the EC members will meet as a group and discuss your proposals as a group. Again, the firm that has the highest score or is the highest ranked will be eligible for a contract award. Some RFP processes may ask for a site visit, oral presentation, or a demonstration should you, for example, be proposing new IT technology or something like that. But number 3 here is optional. The city may request further information, or the city may move to contract negotiations after number 2, the proposal evaluations. The RFP process often can take some time, sometimes years, but it's important to note that anyone who responds to a proposal will be sent either vendor selection or vendor declination letters, so you'll know where you stand. The city may not select any vendors as a result of the RFP process, so that's also important to note. Contract award is contingent upon successful negotiations of the terms and agreements as detailed in the sample contract attached to the RFP, and also pricing. Again, the city is not obligated to award any contracts. The RFP process may allow multiple awards. It's important to note that when you submit your pricing and the city looks to negotiate pricing, we'll be looking for more favorable pricing for us, so that's for your pricing to go down. There's never any times where the city will give you more than what you included in your cost proposal. And again, should you be selected for contract award and the city is not able to successfully negotiate a contract, be it you are not able to accept all our terms or conditions, we may look at the next highest ranked respondent and not award a contract if contract negotiations are not successful with one firm. So before we go through questions, I'm just going to quickly go through a sample RFP with you. This is an RFP that was issued through our eProcurement system. And here you can see the cover page, which details the eProcurement solicitation number here, the project title, the specification number. Every RFP will have a specification number. It details which city department is requiring these services. It tells you, importantly, when your proposals are due, the date and the time, and then has other information such as when the pre-solicitation conference will be held, which are optional, but we usually strongly encourage everyone to attend the pre-solicitation conference if you intend on providing a proposal in response to an RFP. You'll also see the procurement specialist who is working on the project. All questions and inquiry have to come to DPS, and the person who you should contact is detailed on the cover page. The next pages are just information that's generated through the system and just standard template information. This is, once again, just details from the eProcurement solicitation that goes into the document. The important thing about this page is the requirements section. This may vary from project to project, but you may see some special notes that tell you what you must do to submit a proposal. So it's important to look at the requirements section to ensure there's no special instructions or something that you need to do in order to submit your response. This page will tell you all the attachments that we have that you'll see in the following pages. And then you'll see this here, which often confuses some vendors, but basically this is just stating that you can submit as many responses as you want. So let's say you submit a response and then you want to change it. You can go back and make as many changes as you like. On this page, you'll see the line item information. For RFPs, there's usually just one line and you submit a total price for the term of the contract. Moving on, so here's the cover page of the actual RFP document, which again details all the pertinent information for the project. We have a table of contents, which details everything that's in the document and all of our exhibits. Please note that the exhibits change from project to project, but your compensation, your company profile information, references, your MBEWB compliance, EDS, and insurance, as well as the professional services agreement, which is a sample contract, will be provided for all RFPs. So here we have the general information about the project, some background information. This section here tells you how to access all of the information for the RFP. We have a definition section which goes through definitions for the project. For the scope of services, we have our contract term here. It's important that you see the commitment that you would be signing up for should you be awarded a contract. So for this project, the contract is for 4 years, and most times the city will have unilateral extension options, which means that if you're awarded a contract, your services will be ongoing for up to 6 years, usually unless the city terminates the contract early. We go through the pre-proposal conference, deadline for submitting your RFP, how to submit your RFP. For the eProcurement process, we encourage you to combine multiple attachments into just one PDF. There's information resources on where to find our pre-proposal attendees, addenda, etc. We have the timetable for the key activities for the project. Again, we ask that you submit a redacted proposal with your proposal, and that's a requirement for all submissions, and this goes through those details. And then this is section 5, preparing proposals and required information, which is what I detailed before. And this is the section that I recommend you make a checklist for. You'll see everything that you must submit in your proposal. Cover page, table of contents. Here we detail exactly what you need to state in your cover letter. Please carefully look through this section and provide all the required information, such as your legal name and your address. And be sure to tell us a good principal contact for the RFP. As I stated, RFPs sometimes take a while to evaluate, and we see sometimes that members of your firm may come and go. So it's important that you provide us with someone who's likely to be a part of your team for some time. Should we need to reach out to you for clarifications or any additional information, you'll need to provide that person in your cover letter. RFPs ask for an executive summary. Again, the professional qualifications that I detailed earlier, and you can see there's detail here of exactly what we're asking for and exactly what we're asking you to submit in your proposal. The references, it's important to note that if you omit any of the fields on the references, we will see that as non-responsive. You're required to include all of the required information, including the total dollar value of the contract for the reference that you're providing. We ask for your capacity to perform. Again, any business licenses. We look to see that you're authorized to do business in Illinois through the Illinois Secretary of State. However, if you're a firm out of state, you would provide whatever certificate of good standing you have for your state. Although at the time of contract award, you will likely be asked to register with the state of Illinois and provide that certificate as well. Here you can see proposed implementation plan. For this one, we have quite a bit of detail. We're looking for someone, for this project, we were looking for someone to provide software and technology. So there was quite a bit of information that's detailed here, and you should carefully go through all of the requirements and ensure that you're hitting upon everything that we're asking for. There's also your approach to implementing the services, organization chart. Some projects you may see that we're asking for quality control and assurance. We'll ask for dedicated resources. Staffing plans are almost always required for projects, so we know who's on your team and how you'll staff the project. For this project, you'll note that the compensation was set, so you couldn't submit compensation. You had, for people responding to this RFP, you had to accept the city's compensation as we detailed in the RFP. The section will tell you if there's any goals and if you need to submit a MBWB commitment or whatever that may be. Financial statements, we detail what you need there, the EDS. Legal actions, it tells you exactly what we're looking for as far as legal actions, insurance, and disclosure of conflicts of interest. So we detail exactly how we will evaluate proposals, and I'm going to scroll down. This is the evaluation criteria. So you know exactly what we're looking for and how we're going to evaluate proposals. Each RFP has the evaluation criterion that the EC will use published in the RFP. And I'm going to quickly scroll through the rest of this just to show you the exhibits. So we have an exhibit that helps with information for eProcurement, should it be an eProcurement project. You'll always see a detailed scope of services as Exhibit 1, which tells you exactly what or not exactly, but it gives you an overview of what we're looking for and what we need and what we're asking you to provide a implementation plan for. Exhibit 2 is usually the compensation schedule, which will have either a form or tell you what the compensation is set at. This is the company profile information. We ask that you use this form to submit your proposal and not recreate it. And the same with Exhibit 4, the reference form. And then from here, you'll see the MBE special conditions that tell you about requesting a waiver and how MBE, WBE firms are handled on projects. You'll see all of our forms and schedules included. Schedule C1, which is prepared by your subcontractor, the WB or MBE firm. And then the Schedule D1, which is prepared by the prime or the firm submitting the proposal. We have instructions for the EDS and how to file your online EDS. We have the insurance requirements. Should you be issued a contract, it'll detail exactly what insurance has to be provided for the contract. Now we have a sexual harassment policy affidavit, which is required for RFP submissions. And then we have various exhibits that are specific to the projects. So with that, I am all done. One final note is if you're submitting an RFQ, as I stated earlier, cost is not required until you are selected to be part of the pre-qualified pool. I would say it's very important that you go online and look for contracts already awarded by the city for similar services and see the pricing that vendors have already submitted and has been accepted by the city. I often see small firms, their pricing is a lot less than some of our larger firms. So go out and take a look at what the city is actually paying so you can gauge what your cost should be. And I am all done and we'll take any questions.
Great. Thank you, Jana, for that great information. We do have a few questions. The first question is, what type of content is usually considered for redaction?
Financial statements, legal actions. If it's a project where there's some proprietary information or something that only your firm does or you've come up with, that can be redacted. So usually those areas.
The second question is if the person perhaps may have little information or data, not that much information about a specific project, how can they submit a work plan?
Well, often for RFPs, we're looking for firms that are established in the area. And again, RFPs are issued because the city doesn't quite have enough information to do the services on their own. So we're looking for a qualified vendor to come in and help us. So we have all of our current contracts that have been awarded on DPS's website. So you can search by specification number, you can search by project category. So let's say you're responding to a financial services RFP, you can go online and put in financial services and see current contracts. And you can also see previous submissions, RFPs that have been submitted to the city. And that may help.
And let me just add with that, all of the information within the project specs, because I think what the person was trying to get to is that the actual request out there has very little information.
So, I don't think that would be the case. I'm not sure of a case where we don't have required information. The RFP will detail the scope that we're looking to have you do. The only case I can think of is an RFQ, which may have a very general scope of services. And again, we're just looking for qualified vendors within that category. So if it's real estate services, we're looking for people who perform real estate services, and you'll tell us about what you do and how you can provide services to the city. Otherwise, everything should be detailed in the RFP for you to respond to.
And quickly, I want to say thank you for those folks that sent us the kudos of putting on this program, online program, because it was very helpful. And I do think that it was a wealth of information as well. But they want to thank you, Jana, for doing that presentation.
So thank you.
Couple of other questions. Will we be notified who the finalists are for the award and notified of company awarded contracts?
No, you're only notified of your firm's standing. So if we seek to move forward with your firm, you will receive a letter stating that. And if we are not seeking to move forward with your firm, you will receive a letter stating that.
If there are no WB or MBE requirements, do you still need to submit a Schedule C1 and a D1 form?
So even if there's no requirements, if you see opportunities to subcontract with our MBEs or WBEs, we always encourage that and hope that you will do that. However, if there's no goals, it is not a requirement to submit C1s or D1s.
And lastly, is there a process for registration for pre-solicitation conference calls?
That will be detailed in the RFP document. Some RFPs will require that you pre-register with the procurement specialist that is listed on the document. Some RFPs, you may be provided a call-in number, and you will just use that number at the time and date of the conference and move forward from there. But instructions are in the RFP document.
All righty, and I will say I'll give one more all call if there's any last bit of questions. In the meantime, while some people might be typing, trying to get that last question in, I do want to say thank you to Jana Williams for imparting that great information to us. I also want to thank the participants for spending a little time to try to find out more information about the RFP process. And if there are no additional questions, which I haven't received any, I want to say to everyone, stay safe, stay well, wash your hands, social distance, wear your mask, get vaccinated when it's your turn. which I think is everybody's turn now. And hopefully we will see you back at City Hall sometime soon. Thanks so much for this time, and thank you, Jana, and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.